2.5 years ago, I released a video talking about my 10 favorite first drops and launches on roller coasters. But at the time, I'd only ridden a small fraction of the coasters I have now, and absolutely none in Europe, which of course opens up a wide array of other options. It's about time I update this one, and I kind of already did in the last video. If you didn't get to see my updated top 15 roller coaster drops, stop what you're doing and watch that first. Or watch it after this one, I don't know why I'm being so demanding. Today, I did want to specifically highlight roller coaster launches. Launches are interesting because it's not all about the speed. A lot of the general public might assume that faster launches are better, and while that is true in some instances, it's not for others. Take Cedar Point for example. The upcoming Top Thrill 2 is going to be 120 miles per hour at its peak, but it's going to take 3 incredibly gradual back and forth launches to get there. Meanwhile, Maverick in the same park has a launch that goes 70 miles per hour that accelerates riders much quicker. Therefore, I can almost guarantee that people will still like that launch better. Now, before we get things started, I'd like to give some honorable mentions to other launches that are also fantastic but didn't quite make the list. First of all, I'm disqualifying the swing launch on Pantheon at Busch Gardens Williamsburg and Two Taunus at Park Asterix. Because if you see here, the launch was kind of divided into two halves by an airtime hill, and when you're going over that airtime hill, you aren't actually accelerating, so I don't want to give the launch credit for the airtime rider's experience. Having said that, they're absolutely incredible moments, and I'd recommend you go check them out. In here, we've also got Maverick's aforementioned second launch at Cedar Point, Wicked's launch at Lagoon, Powder Keg at Silver Dollar City, Ride to Happiness's first and second launches at Plopsaland Japan, Volcano the Blast Coaster's second launch at King's Dominion, Terran's second launch at Phantasialand, Batman Gotham City Escape's first launch, pretty much any Gerstlauer launch that isn't the one I have included in this list, and many more. I love these all, but I could only pick 10 launches, and that meant only the best of the best could make the cut. So let's get things started. At the number 10 spot, we have the SNS Axis prototype in Utah. No, I didn't just put this on the list to flex the fact that I've ridden it, which to those of you who didn't know, yes, I have ridden the Axis prototype at SNS's manufacturing site. Funny enough, this was my first time experiencing one of the manufacturer's air launches, which are absolutely insane. Compressed air is able to accelerate riders quicker than just about any other launch type out there. And it's funny because with this prototype, SNS was obviously trying to demonstrate the side-by-side rotations and flipping. And don't get me wrong, that was absolutely amazing too, but I can't help but admit that the launch stole the show a little bit. I know this is just what SNS is used to doing, and they don't want to take up a large amount of space at their facility, but seriously, this launch is intense. Number 9, Flucht von Novgorod at Hansa Park. The first international coaster launch to make this list, allow me to introduce you to the fastest acceleration using linear synchronous motors, or LSMs. Magnets that are able to launch riders to 62 miles per hour in 1.4 seconds. Are you kidding me? And the craziest thing about all of that is you experience this element in pitch darkness, so you can hardly tell when it's going to kick in or what's about to happen as you blast out of the tunnel. This is such an exhilarating way to kick off one of Europe's most underrated roller coasters. Number 8, Sandy's Blasting Bronco at the American Dream Mall. This is one that not a lot of people talk about, and I'm not sure why. Maybe there just haven't been too many enthusiasts that have ridden this thing. But Sandy's Blasting Bronco does deserve to be talked about more because it does something that I've never seen any other coaster do. It begins with a crazy fast acceleration into the rest of the layout forwards before a turntable rotates the vehicle backwards and does it all again facing the other direction. Now I mentioned that this LSM launch already accelerated riders very quickly, but when you're backwards, it is on a whole other level because A, you have no idea when it's about to happen, but B, your body just flops forward into your lap bar. If you ask me, this is hands down the best and most powerful backwards launch on the planet. Number 7, Stormrunner at Hershey Park. Hydraulic launches are a novelty these days, especially as we see more and more converted to LSM technology. But when you do come across one, as much as they are unreliable, you really appreciate the power. Stormrunner has a super cool voice spiel that builds anticipation by saying, "Now get ready, here we go," before blasting you off. This is a 0 to 72 mile per hour launch in 2 seconds, and it is so good in terms of that initial kick and how it sustains its acceleration throughout the launch section. This is something lots of other hydraulic launches also perform well at, including Furious Baco at Portaventura. This launch feels very similar to that of Stormrunner, with the main difference being that you're on a wing seat. You have nothing below you or above you, and I think that extra sense of freedom adds to this launch. Its speed and rate of acceleration is also similar to Stormrunner's, as you go 0 to 83.9 miles per hour in 3.5 seconds. So it's more than 10 miles per hour faster, but also takes an additional 1.5 seconds to get there. For some reason, I just really wasn't expecting this one to be so intense, so I don't think my body was ready for what I was about to experience. It's an absolute gut punch taking off that fast at such high speeds. Number 5, Red Force at Ferrari Land. Located in the exact same resort, Portaventura World was the only place on this list with 2 launches in the top 10. Red Force and any other row but the front wouldn't quite warrant a spot on this list, but I did happen to experience it once up there, and that was truly special. Easily my favorite LSM launch I've ever experienced, not because it has the most forceful kick to it, but taking 111 miles per hour to the face is absolutely incredible. For the time being, this is the fastest launch in the world to use LSMs, and you can certainly feel that in the front row. Red Force is an adrenaline rush and unlike any other ride experience you'll find in Europe. Number 4, Accelerator at Knott's Berry Farm. This is one of those iconic best launches in America that you shouldn't be surprised made this list. It was the first time Intamin unveiled their hydraulic launch technology, and it's amazing how well they did on their first go. And I don't mean that in terms of ride reliability, because Accelerator has been closed for more than a year and a half now. We saw it testing a few months ago, but they just can't seem to get that thing open. Anywho, this is probably the most intense initial blast of power of any launch I've experienced. Accelerator goes 0 to 82 miles per hour in 2.3 seconds, and if the stats didn't already back it up, this thing wastes no time in getting going. I deeply miss this coaster, and I hope Knott's Berry Farm is able to work out the kinks and get it back up and running for many years to come. Number 3, Max Force at Six Flags Great America. In 2019, this ride overtook Accelerator as the fastest acceleration on a launch in America. Like the S&S Axis prototype, Max Force uses air launch technology, and this is like that on steroids. 0 to 78 miles per hour in 1.8 seconds doesn't even feel like a launch, it feels like teleportation. It makes me all the more interested to know how Dodonpa, the fastest accelerating coaster in the world, feels. I have heard some say that that launch isn't as good as a few of the other best ones because it's over before it starts, and I kind of felt that way about Max Force as well. It's absolutely the punchiest launch I've been on, at least in America, but it's not the most sustained, which keeps it far away from spots 1 or 2. But let's be honest, it'd be ridiculously hard to top the hydraulic launches making up those spots, starting with King Ka at Six Flags Great Adventure. You hear some people say this launch is shaky or it's uncomfortable, but don't listen to those people. Sit in the front row, and this is perhaps the greatest roller coaster element currently operating. This thing comes to a standstill right in front of this super long launch section and that enormous 456-foot top hat, only building adrenaline for what you're about to experience. Then you take off to 128 miles per hour, the second fastest of any roller coaster in the world, in 3.5 seconds. It takes a bit longer to get to its max speed than a few of the others on this list, but 128 miles per hour is 128 miles per hour. If you got to those speeds at a rate of acceleration half of what King Ka does, it would still feel insane. You're going so fast it feels like your cheeks are gonna fall off. It is unlike anything else. Except there is one other launch like this that I did enjoy more, or should I say enjoyed more, because number 1 is Top Thrill Dragster at Cedar Point. This launch did everything King Ka did but better. For some weird reason, King Ka has 3 distinct moments where it feels like more speed kicks in, but Top Thrill Dragster is a more constant acceleration the whole time as you were launched to 120 miles per hour in 3.8 seconds. It also just had lap bars rather than King Ka's over-the-shoulder restraints, which gave an added bonus of freedom that enhanced this element further. It was my favorite moment on a roller coaster in the world, and I will genuinely never forget it. As you could imagine, I'm not very happy with the announcement of Top Thrill 2. I referenced it at the beginning of the video, but you are going to be taking that entire launch section at an extremely gradual acceleration starting next year. If you'd like to learn more about why I'm so disappointed with that ride, I'd recommend checking out my recent video called Why Top Thrill 2 is Genuinely Awful. But with that being said, thank you all so much for watching. Let me know in the comments what your favorite launches are and if you agree with my rankings. If you enjoyed the video, do me a favor by leaving a like and subscribing to Coaster Dash so you don't miss any future content. Until next time, I'll see you all very soon. Bye guys.